All right, guys. So we're getting there. I mean, all we really have to do now is implement the settings functionality. So we're going to have a certain state for settings. So along with these three here, we'll have settings, and settings are going to get stored in local storage. Okay, but we're not going to deal with local storage just yet. I just want to get the type set up. I want to get the initial reducer set up, stuff like that, the actions, and then we'll look into basically setting our initial state for settings to whatever is in local storage. So let's open up VS Code. I'm going to close all this stuff up, and let's start with our types. So we'll go to our actions and then types, and we're going to basically have three more types. So we want export const, and we're going to call this disable underscore balance underscore on underscore add. Okay, and we're going to set that to a string, which will be the same thing. And then I'm going to copy that down because this next one is actually called disable balance on edit. Okay, so we'll do edit. And then we want another one that's called allowed registration. So let's say allow underscore registration. Okay, and that should be all the types we need for this app. So we'll save this and close it up. So now let's create a reducer. So we're going to go to reducers, and let's create a new file called settings reducer.js. Okay, and before I forget, let's go into our store.js and bring that in, just like we did with the notify. So we'll copy that down. This comes from settings reducer, and it's going to be settings reducer, and then of course we need to add that to the root reducer right here, which is the combine reducers. We have to add it to this object. We'll call it settings. That's what it'll be called in our state. And then let's set that to settings reducer. Okay, so we'll save that. And we might as well create our types file. So in our actions file. So in actions, let's create a file called settings actions.js. All right, so we'll start with the reducer. Now, initially, I'm just going to work without local storage because we're going to basically have a settings page with some checkboxes, and we want the checkbox to be initially checked if, for instance, allow registration is true. If that's enabled, we want that to output in the UI as checked. If not, it will be unchecked. And then we want to be able to toggle it with that checkbox. We want to toggle the state. So for now, let's first of all import. So this is the reducer. We want to import. I'll do imp tab from /actions/types, and we want to bring in from there disable balance on add, disable balance on edit, and allow registration. So we're bringing that stuff in, and then let's do export default function. This is going to take in state. Now for now, I'm going to set this to initial state, and I'm going to define this up here. So I'm going to say const initial state equals, and this is basically going to have three things in it. It's going to have let me just check exactly what this is going to be called. So we're going to have disable balance on add, disable balance on add. I know it's kind of long, and that we'll just set it to true by default. And then let's do disable balance on edit. We'll set that to false. And this is ultimately going to be coming from local storage, but for now I'm just hard coding it. And then we have allow registration, which will be set to false. Okay, and then let's see, in our reducer we want to check for the types, so we need to put a switch here. And I'm sorry, this should also have an action coming in. And then we want to check the action type. That comes in from the actions file. And let's add a case for disable balance on add. So if that, then let's return the state. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to toggle it. So I'm going to set disable balance on add. I'm going to set that to, actually it should be state dot disable balance on add. No, I'm sorry. It shouldn't be state. This is the state. So we want to set that to not disable balance on add. So it'll just basically toggle it. So if it's true, it'll be set to false. If it's false, it'll be set to true. And then let's do the same thing for the disable balance on edit. So I'm going to copy that. Copy that, go down here and paste that in, and just change this to edit. Change this to edit, and this. Okay, and then let's do allow registration. So I'll just paste this in again, and we're just doing the same thing. We're just toggling all of these. So this will be allow registration. This will make more sense later on. All right, and then the default. Default, we just want to return state. Okay, so that's our reducer for now. Oh, wait a minute, I made a mistake. These nots here should be state dot disable, because we're taking it from the state, which is an equal to this initial state. So we want to put state dot in front of these like that, and save, and that should get rid of those errors. Good. Okay, so now let's go to our actions file, and we want to bring in all of our types. So I'm just going to copy this from the reducer and paste that in, except it's going to be from ./types here. And we're going to create some actions. So let's say export const, and we're going to call this set disable balance on add. Oops, that should be equals. And then all I'm going to do is return the type of disable balance on add. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with these actions for now. We're going to do the same for the other two. And you'll see we're going to change this up later, but this is just what we're doing for now. So this will be edit, and then let's say set allow registration. Okay, and we'll say this should be allow registration. Good. So when these get called, they're just going to send to the reducer the type, and then whatever type is called, it's just going to toggle that state value. Okay, it's just going to change it from true to false. So what we need to do next is we need a way to toggle these values, and that's going to be through a component called settings. We'll have a settings component with some options with some checkboxes, and I want to be able to just update the state by simply checking the box. So in the next video, we're going to start to create the settings component.